All right. Well, we want to thank y'all for coming out. Since you, brother, we're going to drop pictures and stuff. I am Chip Smith. I forgot I was Chip Smith. I was just Chip for a minute. So this is part 2. Today is part 2 of what we started last week, but I don't see the people that was here from part 1. So we'll go back and review a little bit of this part 1 before I bail all the way into this part 2. All right, so I am a black history expert. I like the word expert. I probably ain't. There's a whole bunch of dudes more experty than me, and a whole lot of more women more experty than me. But, you know, today the word expert sounds pretty good. Like I know what I'm talking about. But what I hope to leave you with today, if I can leave you with anything, what I hope to leave you with is a better understanding of what we were actually doing as black people and where we're at now versus what the system says what we were doing. And what I mean by that is that the system does a whole lot of teaching you about slavery, you know, and I'm gonna give you an example from my wall. This wall is a wall I use, it's a wall that's used for people. I put it in libraries, I put it in different places, and people come and they walk by and I read it. It'll be in the library for a week. So it's a learning wall or something. And on the wall today, and I change out and I put different stuff on the wall. But on the wall today I have the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. All right, first off I want to say that neither one of these documents had anything to do with us, okay? Neither one of these documents, U.S. never meant us. This country was never founded on anything that had anything to do with us. Okay, so here's our Civil Rights Bill. Civil Rights Bill is 1964. Again, this was just something they did when they were slaughtering people. I'll show you that later. But I want to start you out and say that when you study history as black people, we study history in 2 different ways. We study history as African American history, and then there's what I call black history. Black history is the history of black people from the beginning of time. We were the first people here on the planet. We populated the planet, but nobody wants to teach you that. That is black history. Then in 1619, we began something called African American history, which is the history of the black man in the Americas, all right? And that generally starts with a slavery, and it does start with a slavery. It starts with okay, just to say, and these are some speeches. Dr. King, Malcolm X, Frederick Douglass. And these are the Egyptians. And I always like to show the Egyptians so you can see exactly that the Egyptians, you know, if you watch the movie The 10 Commandments, to show you Charlton Heston and they show you all these white people. And we didn't look nothing like that. That's how we look right there. This is how the Egyptians actually look. It was black people. And I got my grandson hello and so. Hey. Can you calm down, man? Can you calm down? So, again, this is this wall that I have. The Daily Press used to run a series of stuff about slavery and different things, Phyllis Wheatley's and Maggie Walker's. And I put this up here on my learning wall because kids like to walk by and read stuff. All right, so that being said, so today I decided what I would do was start all over from the beginning. If I'm gonna start with African American history, I'm gonna start at 1619. And I'm gonna start with a family called the Tucker family. The Tucker family came in on a ship, 1619. They came into Fort Monroe, and they were on the ship. They were the first slaves documented. The first slaves. Listen, I didn't say they weren't the first blacks to come here. They weren't the first. They weren't the first black people to come to this country. They weren't the first black people in this country. They were the first documented slaves in this country, all right? And those first documented slaves came in 1619. They landed on a ship out here in Fort Monroe, all right? And from that family, I will be able to trace it. We're going to keep in mind the Tucker family. The Tucker family, we're gonna trace them, keep them going. There's a lot of history right here in Hampton, Virginia. So if the first documented slaves come in 1619 and they come into Hampton, Virginia, then it stands to reason. It stands to reason that our history of black people in this country starts here, right? And since the history of the black man starts right here in Hampton, Virginia, we could say that without question that the oldest history of the black man as a slave, as an African American, starts right here with the Tucker family. The Tucker family, still, their son was the first slave or first African born in this country. They say first African. It's not true, because Africans were here before. These were the first slaves we're talking about that was documented in this country. So the Tuckers are still here in Hampton after all these years. So 1619, 1719, 1819, 1919, 2019. So the Tucker family has been here 400 years. Right? The Tucker family has been in Hampton, Virginia for 400 years. How can we prove that? The Tucker family still has a cemetery here in Hampton off of Aberdeen Road. All right? So they've been here 400 years. All right? I'm gonna skip around a little bit in my time frames, because there's 2 or 3 time frames that I want to specialize and I want to lock down in. One of the areas that I want to lock down in, and I want y'all to look at this while I'm talking. Just look through this, and I'll tell you about this a little bit while I'm talking. So see what's there. We were actually the money in this country. When I say we were the money, I mean we were the actual money. This is what the money looked like. That was us on the money. You keep finding, you see that we were so essential to the economy here, that we were actually the currency. All right, you'll see us on every bank had like our dollar bills had George Washington on them and stuff. Their coins, their bills had us on them. I want you to check that out, man, because that's going to be something that's going to really blow your mind when you see that. All right, so just be going through that book while I'm going through. I want to say that there have always been free people of color here in this country, always, from the beginning. Way back before the white guys even got here, we was already doing our thing. So I want to give you 1798. This is, the reason I put this up here today is for the date. The date is July 4th, 1776, right? July 4th, 1776. So we're gonna hang around that time and see what black people was doing. Why? Because there are certain elements of our country that you know, time, just sit there, man. That we want to specify. That 1700s is when the white dudes decided, if you went to any school in this country, we know that 1776 was when all the white dudes decided they wanted to break away from the king and do this thing called the American Revolution. The revolution was just the English dudes over here breaking off from the English king over there. In other words, they didn't want the king over there to control them or the money anymore. They didn't want them to control the slaves anymore. They didn't want to control anything, so they branched off. They branched off and they formed this United States of America when they peeled off. Okay, so as they formed this United States of America, how you doing, man? As they formed this United States of America, all right, like I said, we're gonna specify right now in the 1700s, as the white dudes, and I'm gonna say the white dudes, the Europeans, whoever they was, but as they decide to break off of their king, because they don't want their king to control them, they say they want freedom. That's what they're breaking off for. They want freedom. I want to show you some of the things that was going on while what we were doing while they was breaking off. Because for us, it was also a grand opportunity to do some things. I'm going to show you some different time periods where there were grand opportunities for us to do some things, and we capitalized on those opportunities. So first off, I'm going to give you a few examples of the Registry of Free Negroes. I'm going to let y'all be able to look at some of this stuff. This is the Registry of Free Negroes, 1798. Now, this is in York County. This is in York County. All right. 1798, a whole registry of free Negroes right here. Right here. And I'm going to show you some of these things. I'm going to pass this around too. I'm good for passing stuff around so that you can actually see it. So that you can actually see it. If you look through these pages here, you'll see that I have them. I have these different registered Negroes. I have little side notes about who they were. I'm gonna read a couple of them. Polly Banks. Polly Banks is a very black Negro, about 22 years of age, 5 foot 3 inches high, long visage, small ears, and a little pit in a small pot. No scars on her head, face, or hands except a small one. Born of free parents. All right. So this is 1809. She's 22 years old, and she's born of free parents. So if you take that 22 years of hers back from 1809, you get to 1789. Her parents was free in 1789, and she was born from these free parents. All right. So they want you to think everybody was always slaves. No, this is not nowhere near true. Remember I told you, Williamsburg used to be 50%, 52% black during the 1700s. All right. You got one right here, Molly Banks. I'm just going to read her, 1809. Molly Banks, a mulatto woman about 40 years old, 5 feet high inches, her face a little pitted with a smallpox, her very little nostrils and pouting, thick lips, and is a low, well-set woman, was born of free parents in the city of Warwick. This is Newport News now. 1809, we take 40 years off that 1809, and we get to 1769. So 1769, she was born of free parents. Where? Right here in Newport News. Right up here in Warwick. Remember, Warwick was a county, Newport News was a county. They merged together, right?
So Williamsburg was 50, you said
52% black. 52, over half, 52% black. And that was actually a fact, and I knew a lot about Williamsburg, but that's just a fact that I just learned maybe a month ago, or 3 weeks ago. Me and Leon went to Williamsburg to do some work, and the sister that schooled us that it was 52. I knew it was a lot, but I didn't know it was 52.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? 52.
Will it be 52 now or?
Nah, it's not. It ain't even close to that now. Well, nah, because now Williamsburg is a resort. So now it's resort money's up there, right? Now you got to have a whole bunch of money so you can buy and rent one of these resorts. The only people that are still up there are the people, who never left. I tell people about the black people in Hampton. From the Tuckers, and we're going to talk about other areas, but that the people didn't leave. So there's a lot of people in Hampton who have been here in Hampton as families for hundreds of years.
So the question I asked is it under the percentage or over the percentage maybe now?
Where? Oh, definitely under.
Under?
Definitely under. Definitely under. And the reason there's less blacks now is like I just said. It's because now it's a tourist spot. There's a lot of places in this country that used to be junk places, I would say. Places like on the water. If y'all don't know, all this high resort dollar stuff on the water, long time ago the Europeans didn't want to live on the water. The water was junk. The beaches was junk. Nobody lived on the beaches. People living on the beaches was people that worked hard, fished, did these kind of things. They didn't want to do that, you know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna pass this around to you though, man. Man, I forgot your name already. Thomas, man. Shit, I forgot your name already. Thanks for coming back, man. Thanks for coming back. I'm gonna pass these around, and what I want y'all to do is look at and read. So look, if you look in the little side comments right here, you'll see where I wrote a little note. See that? So that you can understand who this dude was, who she was, who they were. Here we go, Charles Jackson. A bright mulatto. Does everybody know what a mulatto is?
No.
Okay. A mulatto is a person that is half black, half white. See a lot of them out there now. There's a whole bunch of mulattoes out there now. All right, but a person that has either a black mother and a white father, or a black father and a white mother, 50% is what you call a mulatto. If you read through some of these, you will see that mulattoes were light skinned and dark skinned. You know, there was no set mulatto. And you'll see it when I let you check him out. Mulatto, but mulatto is someone who's of mixed parentage, half white, half black. All right. Now, it's a mulatto. That's correct. And then what happens is it breaks down over the years in the next generation. So if you're a mulatto, you're half and half. By the time you get to the next generation, you're a quarter of black or quarter white. Now you're what they call a quadroon. Quadroon. That's a person that's a 1/4%, quadroon. When you get to 8% in the next generation, they're called octoroons. All right, they're called octoroons. Why? Because they're gonna never let you lose the black piece of you. So you'd have to breed out. So if a white person breeds with a black person, they would have to breed out probably 6 or 7 generations of white people to get back to being white again. And they still have a little percentage in there. They still have a little corner. But I want y'all to check these out now, because if you check out if you look at the dates, it's right here, 1810, September 17th, 1810. But then when you get to the age of the person, that's the date that they was recorded. But when you see the age and you take that 26 years off of the 1810, this is 1770. This is the same time as the white dudes are what? Firing for independence. They firing for independence, we already free in most areas. They'll never teach you that. What they want you to learn is this. They want you to learn this piece, enslaving Virginia. They want you to learn all of this. Slavery's hidden face, captivating kids. That's what they want you to learn. Because that keeps you in control and it keeps you in a negative aspect of who you are. But the truth of the matter is, and I'm gonna prove this to you today, that no matter what time of history you're into, we was doing our thing. That's why I don't worry about it now. I'm working on a project now with Leon where I'm trying to explain, my goal is to explain to people that we were always doing our thing. None of the wars they fought, did the Civil War have anything, the Revolutionary War, did that have anything to do with us? No, we were slaves. We were slaves no matter how that war was gonna come out. We were slaves going into that war, and some of us were slaves, but were we all slaves? No. Heck to the no. We were not all slaves. We were, and I'm gonna pass this around, let you check out a couple of them, man. Here goes one born free in 1765. Born free. Now, how do we get to who was free and who was slaves? Y'all remember that last week we talked about Salim, and we talked about Salim and his travels.
Well, yeah. Well, we said I was born free. Well, if she was a white woman, she had a baby slave.
Free.
She was free.
Baby was free.
The master had a baby by a black woman. Was not free.
Was not free. All right, was not free. Now, I'm gonna read something to you. If I get to it, I'm gonna get to it. I'm gonna read some of these laws to y'all that was going on at the time in the state of Virginia. Who could be Indians? Indians in war and sold by Indians not to be slaves. Servants not Christians imported by ship slaves and to be land to be served a certain term. What they're saying is, the first slaves were the Indians, y'all. We gotta that you have to know. When they first came over here, they came over here with a system of what they call indentured servitude, right? Indentured servitude means either somebody paid and said, hey, if you get me over there, I'll work for you for 8-10 years. If you give me some money into that, then I'm free. That's called indentured servitude. And most people who originally came here were indentured servants. Even those original black people that came here ended up being indentured servants, all right? And so what they was trying to do was get as many white dudes to come and help them as they came over here, raped, robbed, and pillaged. But the white dudes didn't want to do it. So they started enslaving the Indians, all right? They started enslaving them dudes. They started capturing them, sending them down to the rice farms, to the different farms, sending them all the way out to the Caribbean and like that. Business got so good And they were slaughtering Indians, doing so much, they had to come with another source of income, and that's when they started importing slaves. Yes, that's when they started importing us. It was a system that developed into that. That was not the original, oh, we're gonna go over there and slave. That's not what we're gonna do. What we're gonna do is get these, we want white people to do it, they didn't wanna do it. We captured the Indians to do it, who was us, that was us too. We were the black Indians, there is no difference. And when that didn't work, they needed more and more, because now at one time, the United States was pumping out like 90%, some crazy number of cotton manufacturing in the world was done right here. And that cotton labor they needed labor. So that's when they started enslaving us and just getting that free labor. All right, so I'm gonna share with you a couple of laws. Now he still look jacked up. Put him back in the seat, Leon. He needs some more work. Put him back in the seat. Put him back in the seat. All right, so let me read this to you guys real quick. We talked about the Moors last week, correct? And the Moors that was friends with the king, right? It was in amity with the king. So, and see, this is another law, 1682. 1682, it says, and be it further enacted by the by the authority aforesaid that all servants except Turks and Moors, while in friendship with his majesty the king, which from and after publication of this act shall be brought or imported into this country, either by sea or land, whether Negroes, Moors, mulattoes, or Indians. That's 4 different groups of people, y'all, that turn into one group. I'm gonna say it again. Turks, Moors, Negroes, Moors, mulattoes, Indians. I'm sorry. Negroes, Moors, mulattoes, or Indians. Those would slowly become one group of people. Through slavery, through sleeping with each other, what they call miscegenation. Miscegenation. Miscegenation is when races mix. You know, if we going in and we hit a bunch of white chicks, that's miscegenation. You know what I'm saying? That's miscegenation, simply put. So miscegenation happens between, now if I've got Indian slaves and I got black people as slaves and they sleeping and all that and they living in the same day and they're working together, there's gonna be miscegenation, right? They're gonna sleep with each other. One thing I've learned about history and all the stuff I've ever learned about black history, white history, green history, blue history, I don't care what history it is, miscegenation always existed. Everybody always slept with each other. People go and conquer a whole city, leave about 2,000 babies in there when they leave out. Go in there, rape up everybody, just leave out with a bunch of babies. Some dudes stay in love. Some women stay in love, but miscegenation. So what happened with the Indians and the blacks and the Moors, they miscegenated, all right? And they became hard to distinguish who was who between those groups of people. And why? Because they all, of this law I just read you, became slaves. They was all in the slave kitty, right? There was a time when if they converted you over to a Christian, you could be released from being a slave. Business got so good again. Once the business got so good, they said, well, now we don't care. Now we don't care if you're a Christian, you're not. We're gonna lock you. You ain't getting out of this, you know. Business is too good. Can't let you out. Now, I want to touch this one quick subject of people always want to talk about how, you know, black people own slaves. All right. Let me clear us all up on this black people owning slaves thing. Slavery was the business of the day, was it not? Slavery was the commerce of the day, was the business of the day, right? So if you was trying to be, whether you was black, white, green, or blue, and you was trying to be businessman, you needed product. What was the main product?
Black people.
Black people. So if you was a brother that was trying to come up, and you had some money, you probably went ahead and bought you a few slaves, because that was the business of the day, right? We do the business of the day now. If cars is what's moving, we buying cars, right? If grapes is what's moving, we buying grapes. It doesn't make no difference what's moving. If you're a brother that's trying to get and be coming up, then you would own some slaves. Does that make sense? Don't that make sense?
Yeah.
If I want to be a big time businessman in 1700s, one of my things I would have me, if I had a big old spot of land and it was spread and I need somebody to work it, I'm gonna buy me some slaves. Right? People think you would say, oh, I can't believe they enslaved their own people. No, it makes perfectly good sense to me if you look at it from a business angle, right? Because all of this was business, right? All of this was some kind of business. Somebody was gonna make money on it. Somebody was gonna make money on it. So if I was an up and coming brother and I didn't say I was a blacksmith, all right? Now I'm a blacksmith and I've earned enough money to not only pay for my own freedom, remember because I told you you could buy yourself out. You know, every white dude wasn't no great businessman. So some of these cats, and then let's get this clear too. Every white boy didn't have enough money to own no slave. They know everybody didn't have no slave. You had to have money. You had no money, you had no slave, right? So you could buy yourself out. If your master said, hey, man, you get me X dollar, I got you, you done, right? So a lot of brothers that was blacksmiths or something like that, they would get leased out to other farms. Go ahead.
When you were a free slave, did they have to have a card? Or what?
They had books and ledgers as to who was what. You know, your master had ownership papers of you. They had that. And then normally there was a marking on you someplace. It might be a little mark on your hand. It might be a little brand on your butt. But you had to show something to who, just like branding a cow. You know, because if you ran away and they caught you, they had to have some way of knowing who you actually belonged to. You know what I mean? So yes, they was branded, they was marked. There's no question about that right there. Okay, so as the laws are changing, the laws change with the economy, right? They come out with a law that says, and I'm trying to get to him so I can read it verbatim. There was a law that was set in place to make it so it was not punishable for a white person and discipline a black person to kill them, right? I dug into this law a little further to see why they needed a law like this. Why they needed a law that said, okay, if you beat a black man to death, there would be no punishment, right? So I dig into this, and what I find is that that law was put in place because white women were beating black kids to death. Let me make that make sense for you. I'm gonna say it again. They put this law in place so that because white women were beating black children to death. And they put a law in place that said if she was disciplining the black child and she beat that child to death, no penalty at all. Now, why would they need a law like that? Remember, laws come after they need it, right? A bunch of stuff happens and we say, oh, we need a law for that, right? They needed that law because the white guys were, in fact, sleeping with these sisters, right? And having these mulatto babies, right? Now I got a white woman who's got all of these babies running around her that her husbands have made, her brothers have made, her cousins have made. All these babies is running around them. My husband got 5 babies out here. Ain't none of them mine. But they're slaves, right? They're slaves because the mother was a slave. So these are slaves, but the white women was beating these jokers to death because they didn't want no evidence of their husbands sleeping with his sister. So they was just beating little kids to death, killing them. So they came out with a law that said, okay, you think they would come out with a law to say you can't do that. Nope, that's not what they do. They come out with a law that says, if you do that, no punishment at all. No punishment at all. If you had to discipline little Myra and you beat little Myra to death, no problem. You know what I'm saying? No problem. So we want to get there. Did you get a chance? Where's the book? Let me see the book. Let me brother get a chance. When you get a chance, go through that. That's what matter of fact. You know. But you see, I got little side notes written on some of those. When you get a chance, I want you to get into that too before I jump up. All right. Whereas some doubts, here goes another law. where I say that the condition of, remember I talked to you about the condition of the mother last week? Whereas some doubts have arisen whether children got by an Englishman upon a Negro woman shall be slave or free. Be it there, now they specify man here, see that? Be it therefore enacted and declared by this present grand assembly that all children born in this country shall be bond or free only according to the condition of the mother. And that if any Christian shall commit fornication with a Negro man or woman, he or she had to pay an offending fine. So if you was a white dude and you slept with somebody black, they hit you with a fine. That was funny. This a fine, little fine. But now, if the white woman sleeps with the black dude and they have a baby, what? Baby's free. White man sleeps with the black woman, they have a baby, baby's a slave. Right? So now we can see that this brother, the white man has carte blanche on who he can sleep with. It dawned on me something really funny as they passed these laws. The white man wanted to be able to sleep with sisters with no problem. But didn't want you to even look at a white girl. You look at a white girl, dead. He got carte blanche to sleep. Why? Because he wants to own all the booty. All the booty is his. White booty, black booty, green booty, purple booty, I don't care. All the booty is mine. Right? Not only that, these women are so useful, I can impregnate these, and I can impregnate mine, and I can get that same sister to breastfeed yours and mine. You ain't even got to breastfeed your own baby. I got some artwork at the crib with a sister sitting there with one on each. And here's the even funny part. It was illegal for the white baby to suck off the titty that the black baby was sucking off. Now that's crazy, ain't it? No, that is crazy. That's taking stupid to a level that don't even, that's taking stupid to a level that's nuts. You know what I'm saying? But that's a fact. The white baby could not suck from the same titty as the black baby, and the black baby could not suck from the same titty as the white baby. Is that not stretching stupid as far as stupid to go?
One body.
One sister sitting here breastfeeding everybody's babies.
Right.
You know, it was like the colors only water fountains, right? It's just the color only titty, you go the white only titty, right? You know what I'm saying? And when you study some of the stuff, man, it's just absolutely nuts. It's absolutely nuts. So I want to read this to you because I talked about the Moors, right? Remember I said, this is from last week. Remember I talked about how during this time, and I just read for you where it said that the Moors in amity or in friendship with the king, right? This is 1700. I want to read this to you right here, 1785. I'm going to read this whole thing because I want y'all to trip with it. This is William Fouché. William Fouché was the guy in charge of this area. He's writing a letter to the governor. He's writing this letter to the governor in Richmond because he's encountered these two black folks and he don't know what the hell to do with them. All right, so listen to this here. It says, agreeable to the request, you know, they have all this fanfare bullcrap that they lead the letters off with. Agreeable to the request of your excellency and honorable board, I have this evening accompanied Colonel Meriwether and making full inquiry of the persons and baggage of the 3 Algerians or Moors. Now they done found 3 brothers in Norfolk. So when they come up, this is 3 brothers in Norfolk, but when they come up on these 3 brothers, and they asking them about their status as them being slaves, and they're doing what they're trying to figure out what to do. The black dudes say, "Oh, I don't know what y'all talking about. We Moors. I have no idea what y'all talking about. We Moors. All the slaves that you talking about, that ain't us. We Moors." Because remember, it said Moors while in friendship with the king, right? They never want to connect you to the Moors, and I'll tell you why. If you connect the Moors to now, without the Moors, there's this big gap in between what happened in Africa and what happened here. All right? The Moors took over. You go study the Moors. The Moors conquered Spain, ran it for 700 years. 700 years. Put in street lights, put in 17 universities, put in all kinds of stuff. Back in them days, white dudes weren't even taking baths, which is why they had the Black Plague, the bubonic plague, all these plagues. Plagues spread because they wouldn't even wash themselves. There's white people now that don't wash themselves, to be quite honest with you. I just seen them on YouTube talking about not washing. They was just on there talking about they didn't use washcloths. Didn't they say they don't use washcloths and stuff? Did you see that was on YouTube? Yeah. Did you see it up there, Leon?
Yeah, they never use washcloths.
Right. I'm trying to figure out what y'all doing with this thing. What y'all doing? So anyway, it says he's asking them what to do with these Moors that he found. He said, I find a number of papers which induce suspicion only from their being contradictory as to the names and purpose of these people are called by and intention of pursuit. In other words, the papers ain't quite matching up. The brothers got papers with them, but it's not quite matching up for my man. You know, he's not quite happy. So he's writing to the governor because he don't want to make a mistake and do something wrong here with these brothers. So he wants to get guidance on what I'm doing with these brothers, right? On being interrogated, he's asking them questions on these points. They answer that these papers, now here's smart brothers. I love smart brothers. He says these papers being written in English, they cannot say what the contents are or be accountable for the mistakes of those who may have written them. They deny being Algerians. They said, no, we're not Algerians, but say they are Moors. We're not Algerians, we're Moors. They know who they are. These are just brothers, right? Just brothers, but they know who they are. No offensive or defensive weapons are on them. They ain't got no weapons. One of them only was possessed of, only one of them had some money. He had 16 pounds, a couple of shillings. Lest your excellency may not have been appraised of one's circumstance, I take the liberty of observing that they are in possession of a receipt from the captain of the Douglas for 30 pounds, the amount of passage for these. In other words, they have a receipt from the captain of the ship that they came over here on. They didn't come in as slaves. They got the, he says right here, they got their receipt saying they came in. They also got their paperwork saying they Moors. He's trying to tell them what they're not. He's saying, and this is where the brothers, I love the brothers. The brothers say, hold on, these papers are written in English, and we don't write that. So we're not going to be held responsible for the mistakes on the papers because we didn't write the papers. It was the people we paid the money to that wrote the papers up. So we I can't be held responsible for that mistake, all right? They say this money was borrowed from a Jew in London. Now, so they're saying we borrowed some money from a Jewish cat in London. He financed us to come over, right? They have several papers which bear marks of authenticity, but being in Hebrew, their contents are unknown. So now we got another flip. They got other papers that look really good. He said these papers look authentic. These are authentic papers, but they're written in Hebrew, so the white dudes don't understand the Hebrew. See what I'm saying? All right, man. They're written in Hebrew, so he's still got to call. He's trying to get a higher authority to tell him what to do with these bad boys, right? They say the papers admit them to places of worship. This may be so, or they may be letters of credit for anything which I know of the contrary. Understanding that they were to go to Norfolk instead of Philly seemed much distressed and made many questions respecting this determination. Though I confess myself much dissatisfied with the appearance and account of these people have been able to make no further discovery than what is above related. What he's saying is, it's bugging him because these is black people. So that's bugging him. But he can't move on nothing because all the paperwork seems very legit. So I don't want to mess up, because remember it said you can't mess with the Moors who was in friendship with the king. So they know that law. So they know, okay, these dudes, I can't mess with these dudes. But this is right here in Norfolk. During slavery, during all of this, and here's three brothers I can give you an example of. Remember we talked last week about Salim traveling all over the place, doing his thing. And they said he was a slave, but he traveled all over the place, ended up in the Continental Congress. So I want y'all to see here again that we was free. We was free.
That's something I never thought about. They had boats going back and forth.
Yes.
So people was riding boats. You can pay your money to come on over here.
Yeah. You can pay to get on a boat. You know what I'm saying? I want to share with y'all 1637. This is another thing that they don't teach you in history. But they don't teach you that we was enslaving them first. Okay? They don't teach you that we enslaved them before they enslaved us. That's not something they teach. All right, but I'm gonna show it to you. 1636. 1636. I'm gonna show you examples of what we did. All right. Now this is John Dutton, America. Now, see, I'm reading legitimate paperwork here. I ain't making up none of this. It said, in an examination of John Dutton of London, America, in a small ship of London called the Little David, set out by Mr. Armitage, a woolen draper, that's the type of boat, in the beads of Cannon Street, with 50 men and boys. 50 men and boys, 7 women, they was bound for Virginia. So the boat's leaving, it's heading for Virginia. John Hogg, the master, they were all taken by a Sallyman, which is brothers. Sallyman, you hear the word Sallyman, you're talking about black people. They was taken by to Sally and sold for slaves. All right? They take off on a boat heading for Virginia. What do? The Moors do? Capture the boat, sell them for slaves. Right? Sell them for slaves. So there's a different type. What was the difference between the slavery that we experienced and slavery in the past? Anybody know? Because slavery has always been around throughout history. All right? But what is the difference in that slavery? What we experienced over here is something called chattel slavery. Chattel slavery is when you dehumanize the slave. See, in the old days, and even among the Native Americans, a different thing, when you know, let's say go back to, Constantine and different, emperors and different, when you fought a war with somebody and you captured these people, you made them slaves. But you didn't dehumanize. The only thing that you enslaved was their labor. You enslaved their labor. You didn't enslave the person. You enslaved their labor. In other words, they had to work for you all day. But they still went home to their wife. They still went home to their kids. But they was indebted to you. So you was a slave. It wasn't until they get over here that they decide, you know what? We're going so hard on them in slavery that we're going to dehumanize. We're going to take away their humanity. We're going to say they're not even human. We're going to say they're savages. We're going to say that they have no sense. We're going to say they can't read, they can't write. We're going to say they're uncivilized. Right? That's called chattel slavery. And what happens during that chattel slavery, you dehumanize, and even for Congress, they came back and said that we was what? 3/5. Y'all have heard that before, that we was 3/5 of a human. We weren't all humans, we was only 3/5 of a man, right? That's chattel slavery. That's the dehumanization of a person, a dehumanization, and taking not only their physical freedom, but taking their mental freedom and taking their whole manhood and taking their humanity right away. And that's what happened. I'm gonna drop ship over to this mentality. All right, because I'm trying to bounce today. Stay with me, baby. Stay with me. Did you get a chance to look at that one? Did you get a chance to look in there? Okay, so we talked about what was going on, what the black folks was doing in the 1700s, how they don't tell you what we was doing, but we was doing it, right? All right, so I brought this with y'all, man, with me, because I want you, because y'all mind helping me out? All right, so you hang on to that one. I'm gonna hang on to this one. If you hang on to this one. Alright. Brother, you gonna help me out? What's your name, Leon? What's your name, man? Oh, you gonna help me out? Alright, so we talked about the 1700s. I set it up a special way today. I gave you all these pamphlets. Maya, you got one? Okay, here, you got one there. All right? Now we're going to jump forward. So we're talking about the Revolutionary War. We're going to jump forward now to the Civil War. Why are we going to jump to the Civil War? Because every time the Europeans decided to fight with each other, because the Civil War was them fighting with each other, right? We didn't have nothing to do with that. But every time that they went to war was when we was making power moves. We were making power moves. Okay? So what I want y'all to do is, let me see your map. Okay. Anybody ever heard of the Rosenwald schools? The Rosenwald schools. See that? The Rosenwald schools? I bet you in your life you have seen a Rosenwald school and didn't know there was one. There was 2 on Shell Road. All right? Booker T. Washington, who used to run Hampton University and he started Tuskegee University, he got together with this white guy named Rosenwald. Rosenwald was the president of Sears. Remember Sears and Roebuck Company? Jewish guy. And so I love Booker T. Washington. Booker T. Washington was so into education. I want us to understand education. Booker T. Washington was so into education that he was able to, while he was at Tuskegee, the president of Tuskegee, he got with Rosenwald and they began building schools for black people. They built over 5,000 schools. When you get to riding around the country, sometimes if you're in the right place, you'll see one. But when you're younger, there was more of them. But y'all remember riding the country, you see this little small white building, just looks like a little shack. A lot of those was Rosenwald schools. My wife and I have been to a lot of them.
Wasn't Booker T. Washington, was he considered as a free man?
Oh, he was a free man. He was born a slave. But then he was educated at Hampton University.
Right here in Hampton.
Right there, Hampton. Yeah, Booker T. Washington was educated right here at Hampton University. He became in charge of Hampton University. He left Hampton University and started Tuskegee University. Then he was replaced by a guy named Russell Moton, M-O-T-O-N. So he was free. No, he was not born a free man. I think he was what they call manumitted. I think his whoever slaves had his family let him go. And he went on to educate. All right, he went on to educate. But I want you to look at, all of y'all have papers with you, and they're all 1800s pages. So I want y'all to flew them out, all right? I'm gonna look at some of these Rosenwald schools, dates they were built, all right? Remember the Civil War era, who got the Civil Wars? Me? Who got the Civil War papers? Timeline. You got the Civil War? All right, give me the first thing on that timeline. 1860? Okay, what happens 1860? I mean, you find something close to 1860 in your package.
1860.
Find something close to 1860 in your package.
Well, I got 1862.
Okay, so what you got for 1860?
First black woman to earn a bachelor's degree. Abraham Lincoln.
Is what?
The 16th president.
Is elected? All right, keep going. Stay with the Civil War timeline a little bit. What's next? What happens next?
Yeah, first black president of
So 1860, Abraham Lincoln's elected president, right? And in 1862, what happens?
1863, Daniel.
Go back to 2. Go back to 62.
62 is Mary Jane Patterson.
What did she do?
First black woman to earn a bachelor's degree.
Okay, hold on. 1862, this sister's the first black woman to earn a bachelor's degree. Slavery is still legal at this time, though, correct?
Yeah.
So how are we getting bachelor's degrees?
I got Jim Crow era.
Okay, what
1863 to 1870.
Okay, what happens? Give me something.
We got, as the American Civil War ended, anti-slavery political forces demanded rights for ex-slaves. This led to the passage of the 14th and 15th Amendments, which theoretically granted African American and other minority males equality and voting rights.
18 what?
1863 to 1870.
Give me something 1863. Give me something 1863 in your civil rights. Give me something 1863.
First black president of the college.
First black, when? 1863?
Yeah.
Civil War ain't even over yet. Brother's president of the college. Nobody told you that, did it?
Nah.
How are we enslaved, being enslaved, and all this, but we got schools jumping? We got HBCUs jumping on. The first who got the HBCU one? Anybody got the HBCU one? You got the HBCU. 1837. Give me, go back a little bit.
1837?
Give me 1837. That's the first HBCU.
Yeah, it's
1837.
Institution of Color Youth.
1837 is 50 years before the Civil War. We're good enslaved right then, right? But we start, what's the name of the college? 1837?
Institute of Color Youth.
Institute of Color Youth, 1837, 50 years before the Civil War, we got a college.
Now it's the Cheney, is that saying right?
Cheney?
Cheney University.
Cheney University, what year was that?
This is 1837.
1837. Even what you got around 37, anything?
36.
You got anything 1837? You got anything back that old on yours?
1680.
They got different dates. So you started 1680?
It's a passage in here that mentions 1680.
Well, just pick one of your notes. Pick one of your earliest transgressions. 18.
This is California.
Oh, that's California. Read that. It's most of it. I want y'all to understand this mentality of the European government. In what's the year for that?
This is first date in this passage is 1851.
1851, before the Civil War, the United States government tries to what?
Genocide of California's indigenous.
They try to kill all the indigenous people in California. Straight out killing them. Go.
I got an 1823 Alexandria. I think the name is Twain. It's Twain.
What does he do?
First black college graduate in America.
18 what?
1823.
1823. First black college graduate in America. But it's 50 years before the Civil War.
Right.
50 years before the Emancipation Proclamation, where the slaves were so-called set free. So what are we doing? That's the point I'm always making. We're always on jam. I don't care what the system is doing. I don't care what the white people is doing. We are jamming. But they don't tell you that, right? I'm gonna go back to those Tuckers from Hampton. Meanwhile, them Tuckers are still here. You ain't gonna, if the Tuckers started 1619, none of this covers the area where there ain't no Tuckers. What do you say?
I said that's why she needs to come out. India needs to be here. That's her family.
The Tuckers.
Okay.
So that's how.
Okay, the Tuckers, you gotta know. You gotta know. The Tuckers been here for what we say, 400 years? The Tuckers been here? Tuckers ain't went nowhere. So Ibn has, his pamphlet deals with mass riots and killings,
Racial violence.
massacres, different racial violence. We talking about violence against the Indians, violence against the Chinese, violence against the blacks, violence against, why? Because this system is a system of violent takers, right? They got us, they got the Chinese. Y'all remember the term Shanghai? Remember that?
I heard of that.
Shanghai was when they used to go over there and Shanghai Chinese people and bring them over here to work on the railroad. They stole them. Same thing they did everywhere else. Then, when everybody starts to get here and figures it out and starts prospering, then they get hot and want to start slaughtering them. Right? All right, so we also have the Civil War. Let me see the Civil War timeline right here. You got to But what I want y'all to see is what we was doing versus what they say. The 1863, the Battle of Chancellorsville. Siege of Vicksburg, 1860. This is while the Civil War is going on, 1860s. All right, get into the 1860s. If you see anything 1860s, what you got?
1860.
What you got? Massacres, 1860.
I got 1860 on my page.
What you got?
Well, let's start 1862. I went 1860.
Okay, give me the 18.
Mary Jane Patterson.
Okay, what else you got? 1800s.
She was the first black woman to earn a bachelor's degree in 1862.
1862,
Then you got 1863.
right?
President Abraham Lincoln signs the proclamation.
The Emancipation Proclamation.
But then the same year, 1863, you got Daniel A. Payne, first black president of the college.
Right. So the same year that he signs the Emancipation Proclamation, supposedly freeing the slaves, is a brother here who's the president of a college.
I got an estimate between 1849 and 1870. By one estimate, at least 4,500 California Indians were killed between
Slaughtered
1849 and
In a 20-year period, they tried to kill, then they say they tried to extinguish all of them. They tried to kill all of go ahead.
You said 4,500.
Slaughtered. They literally passed a law that said you can go slaughter all the natives.
Almost 50,000 people.
Almost 50,000 people.
Then it says historian Benjamin Madden has documented the numbers of California Indians killed between 1846 and 1873. He estimates that during this period, at least 9,400 to 16,000 California Indians were killed by non-Indians,
16,000 Indians were slaughtered.
including 370 massacres.
370 massacres.
Massacres.
Massacres. That's we just gonna go in. We just gonna go and plaster 100, 300 people.
300 massacres. Over 300.
Massacres. Just in the state of California. During the time that they're fighting for the so-called Civil War, right? Civil War means we're fighting, anything when it's a Civil War means we're fighting with ourselves, right? If me and my wife get to fighting in the house, we have a Civil War going on Pine Avenue. I mean, that's the bottom line, but it's true, right? Because a Civil War is a fight amongst yourselves, right? So they're fighting amongst themselves, but they're still at the same time trying to extinguish all of the daggone people in California. Isn't that not crazy? Is that not crazy?
Yeah, that's
That's absolutely, we say it was almost 9,000?
9,600 to 16,000.
Right, but all that time, guess what the Tuckers are doing here in Hampton? They still living. They still growing. They still doing their thing. Matter of fact, it was 18-something, Leon, I think was the date that they first bought the cemetery. It was like 1863 when they bought that cemetery for the family.
So when you say slaughter, that's children?
That's anybody. Women, kids, ants. If it was a Mexican ant, they killed it. Right? If it was a Mexican ant, they tried to extinguish it. Right? So why do I say that? I say that to let us all know that this destruction was going on for everybody that was not white. You feel me? Did the black folks have a hard way to go? Yeah, we had a hard way to go. But what I'm still trying to prove to you is that even during that time, when my man got together with the Rosenwald schools, they started to build Rosenwald schools late 1800s, 1900s. First in 1900s. Booker T. Washington are building schools. They build almost 6,000 schools. They built 500 of them right here in Virginia. 500 schools right here in Virginia. 2 on Shell Road. Years ago, before they built the new Boys and Girls Club, there was a little white building there that they used for the, remember the thing they used to use for the Boys and Girls Club?
Yeah.
That was a Rosenwald school.
Wow.
That was an old Rosenwald school. You didn't know that. That's where the black folks used to go to school. That's where the black folks used to go to school. Leon, if you would have a good talk with your grandma, right now she'd tell you, yeah, baby, we used to go to school over so-and-so. We used to go over here to school. You know what I'm saying? My daughter's grandmother got a spot way out in the country, way out there in Southampton County. She used to always tell me, see that right there, Chip? That's where we went to school. They get up and walk through all them back roads, school. Smithfield got one they turned into a museum. There's one up on 17 over the bridge they turned into a museum. So they're trying to save them all now, the schools. There's only about 500 left, they say, that they convert. But this is happening at the same time that we're being taught that we had nothing, did nothing, knew nothing. Right? Had nothing, did nothing, knew nothing. Remember I talked to y'all about the massacres, the Black Wall Street massacres, the massacres down in North Carolina, all these different massacres. Why? Because when my man did come loose with that Emancipation Proclamation, we was already educated. We was ready. We was ready. We was locked and loaded to start our own stores, start our own banks, start our own businesses. This is where Tulsa, Oklahoma came from. This is where these towns where the brothers flourished came from. We was locked and loaded. We was already educated. You can see right there, we was already in colleges. We was already in colleges. Hampton University, Howard University. Right at the end of the Civil War, you'll find, see if you can find 1860. I think it's 1865.
I got 1865. We got the Freeman Bureau Act providing funding and training for black people established.
Right, the Freedmen's Bureau. Now go ahead down to another school though.
1865, Civil War ends with the surrender of the
Civil War ends 1865.
Then we got 1865, and did
The Juneteenth. All right, flip it then. One more.
We got 1865, again, Shaw University.
Shaw University.
I know it's Shaw,
Shaw University is where? Carolina?
North Carolina.
Right?
And I put a
1865, into the Civil War, we start, listen now, into the Civil War, according to them, we're just getting freed, right? But we start in Shaw University the same year. Shaw University. See, I said, stop being fooled by this Trump junk. We've been dealing. We deal. We deal. We dealing when they don't know we dealing. They're just not telling you nothing about how we was dealing because they don't want you to know how we was dealing.
Because on that same year, 1865, U.S. Constitution 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment was adopted.
They just now coming with the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment. The 14th Amendment says slavery is illegal. 13th says slavery is illegal. 14th and 15th gives us voting rights and a few other things. No discrimination.
But we already got a university.
But we already got a university.
And Shaw University.
We got Shaw University's first. And Shaw University is being built in the South. It's being built at the same time they're opening Shaw University. There's an army marching. There's a northern army that had came through Georgia, and it's marching back north straight past Shaw University.
So Shaw is our first HBCU university?
No,
No?
Cheney was in 37. Cheney was in 37. And from Cheney to Shaw, there's about 7 or 8, 10 of them. All right? Shaw comes in, is the first one in the Deep South. But it happens in the Deep South, right at the same year that they end the Civil War. Why? Because we was locked and loaded, Jack.
So Shaw the second HBCU.
No, there's a few of them between there. So there's a bunch of them between there. Shaw is the first one opened in the South.
In the South.
In the South, right? Because the South was about that slavery, right? So how are we jumping off? Me and your mother rode around Shaw's camp. We rode all around through there. You know, me and my wife, we drive through everything, you know. But when you listen to what I'm telling you is this. Get an understanding that, and I'm going to go back to them Tuckers, because why? The Tuckers are still here. Tuckers been here 400 years. Tuckers ain't went nowhere. If the Tuckers ain't went nowhere, why am I worried about going anywhere? Tuckers ain't moved. People been here in Hampton since the beginning of time. Especially since, what happened, Leon? Since the three brothers came across the water, right? When the three brothers, okay, so let me back up one more of the story. The three brothers, and if you go to Fort Monroe, they have statues of these cats. So when the Civil War, yeah, right in the museum. When the Civil War starts, Norfolk is held by the South. Fort Monroe is held by the North. All right? So, right across the water, the North, because remember, they were all federal stuff until everybody started pulling out. Okay. So when Virginia pulled out, the North kept the forts that they had. So they kept Fort Monroe. So three brothers is over here, what's up now? Three brothers is over in Norfolk. War starts. These brothers, now here's the part me and Leon was shooting. I don't know how they got across this water. But you know where that bay, the bridge tunnel runs across the bay? Some kind of way, these three cats get from Sewell's Point in Norfolk to Fort Monroe. I don't know if they swam over this camp, floated on some rafts, stole some boats. I don't know. But when you read, no, it was that deep. It was deep. That was always one of the deepest. That was always one of the deepest shipping ports.
That didn't change.
That was always one of the deepest shipping ports. That's why it is what it is. It was always one of the deepest ports.
I was at one point when they had just started the car shipping put on the boats.
Right, on the ferries. On the ferries.
That bridge wasn't there.
Yeah, the bridge wasn't there.
So I ran up on it.
Right. So these brothers now, they make it, and this is three dudes, and me and Leon was laughing because they have a plaque next to the statue, and the plaque clearly states that it's three ordinary guys. These ain't no three special dudes. This is just three brothers, just us three, we sitting there, we know what, man, bump this shit. I'm coming up out of this joint. Three brothers. And they get to Fort Monroe. Like, again, I don't know if they swam, Because that's a heck of a current.
It's a long way.
That's a long swim.
It's a long drive.
It's a long drive. In fact, so I don't know how these brothers get here. But they get here now. Listen now. They get here. All right? And when they get to Fort Monroe, the guy that's in charge, a guy named Butler, is in charge of Fort Monroe. The witch-calls want the slaves back. And the North says, well, nah, y'all pulled up off us. So since y'all pulled up off us, we can confiscate your slaves as what they call contraband of war. All right? So they was able to set them, they kept them, let them be free. All right? So now, when the brothers hear about, when the brothers hear about this, all the black people from as far as Carolina, Tennessee, and different places, they come here. The black people say, oh, shoot. The black people say, hey, they freeing people in Hampton. So all the black people start bailing into Hampton. Thousands of black people come to Hampton. Thousands of black people. So many people come to Hampton that they start these little towns of black people. Just their camps. They was camps. They was called, we got one called Slab Town. Slab Town is all the way up in Yorktown. They finally ran the people off of Slab Town when they built the Yorktown Naval Weapons Station. But all of that area was black folks. That was Slab Town. The other thousands of people, there was a section right off of downtown, all black. All Slab Town. You can look it up right now. You can go to the museum right here in Hampton and show you all the pictures and stuff. You know, I got so much stuff I try not to carry it all with me. You know what I'm saying? Slab Town. But meanwhile, what? The Tuckers still here. That family's still here. To this day, the Tuckers are here. To this day. Yes. Yes, to this day in the city of Hampton, the descendants of the Tuckers are here. They're here. The Tuckers. You never went to school with no Tuckers?
You went to school in Tucker?
I didn't go to school here.
Oh, you went to school there?
Ohio and Rhode Island.
Oh, my people from Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland. Yeah. Yeah.
When I say my people originally from North Carolina and New York,
Yeah.
and Virginia, so it's 3 places.
Yeah.
My people from North Carolina left there, moved to Ohio.
Mine did too.
Okay, so they from
Columbus for me though.
mine's in Cleveland, but they from, but that part of the family are bodies of boats. They said 2 names, 2
Yeah.
ways.
Right.
And they from Scotland Neck, North Carolina.
Skylar Neck. Okay.
It's real small.
I know what Skylar Neck is at.
So,
Yeah.
that's my father's side.
Okay.
And my mother's side is from Virginia and New York.
Okay.
All right, so
Right. They was part of those migrations. My people did the same thing. My people started in St. Helena's out of the Gullah Geechees we talked about last week. Mine started from there, went to Charlotte, North Carolina. Then they migrated from Charlotte, North Carolina up to Buffalo, New York. They went to Buffalo, New York, and then my great-great-grandfather got work in Columbus, and he trickled down to Columbus. So, you
my
know.
family is from, like my mom, like to start off is from, because my grandmother's from South Carolina.
Okay.
Florence, South Carolina.
Florence, okay, got you.
South Carolina, and her last name was Davis.
Okay.
Her husband was a girl. They left there. They came here because my grandmother was born in 1912.
Here.
No, she was 1912 in South Carolina.
South Carolina, okay.
They left South Carolina and got to
Got it.
Virginia. Somehow from 1912, from the time she was born, she made it to Virginia. My grandma,
Right,
which had 5 kids, which one of them kids was my mother.
right.
Okay, so
So she moved up here with 5 kids,
she
some kind
moved
of.
up here. She got here. She had 5 kids. In
Okay.
Virginia. So those 5 kids are originally from Virginia.
Okay, got you.
Grandmother from South Carolina.
Got you.
One of those, not one of them, 3 of those kids left here, like when he was 18, went to New York.
Looking for work with migration,
Got to New York.
trying to get in them factories.
That's how my family ended up in New York.
Yes.
But everybody originally, as the start off, is Virginia.
Right, and I was telling, matter of fact, I was talking to Leon, I was saying that when we go back, like my people, I say, started in South Carolina. If I go back, because you figure the whole family didn't uproot.
Right.
Maybe a brother left, took his crew. Well, he went up north, took his crew, but he didn't. Everybody didn't go. Everybody didn't go. Everybody didn't go. So if you go back far enough, you will find people related to you in those areas. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna find, because everybody didn't migrate at the same. When my great grandfather pulled up, he pulled up with just his group. His brothers and sisters didn't go nowhere. He pulled out. You know what I'm saying? Just like me. When I went to join the Navy, I pulled out. My sisters didn't go nowhere. I joined the Navy, end up here. You know what I'm saying? So it's amazing what we think about history, but once you start talking about it like we are right now we going back and forth, it's going through your head. You're starting to realize, he's right. My grandmother was over here. My father was over here. These people merged this way. You know, my actual grandmother is from Georgia, but she married my grandfather in Columbus, Ohio, because her people got to Columbus. He got to Columbus, right? It's like me and my wife. My wife was from Ahoskie, North Carolina.
I know Ahoskie, right?
Yeah, so I traveled all over the place. I traveled all over the place in my lifetime, but I ended up marrying a woman from Ahoskie, North Carolina.
Now, let me tell you, a few years ago, I didn't know nothing about Ahoskie, right? I went down to Ahoskie with a few friends.
Right.
Ahoskie,
Yeah. Ahoskie, yeah. You know,
Ahoskie,
yeah.
It looked quiet.
It looked quiet. Yeah, that's not.
It can get kind of twisted.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I say, oh wow. I never be that close because this is my home.
Yeah.
But we went down to the hospital and
So you've been here your whole life.
here in New York.
You in New York, okay.
Virginia, New York,
Okay.
Them two places, I don't need a GPS.
Right, just get on in there. Just get on there.
I figure like my home. If I don't need a GPS, this is my home.
Okay.
So when I go to New York, I don't need a GPS.
All right, so we covered a little bit about what we was doing there. All right, I'm gonna make one more leap in time, and then I'm done. All right, Leon, I'm gonna make one more leap in time, then I'm done. All right. What do you think that to current day us is missing? Current day black people, what do you think we missing? If anything, anybody got a guess on that? What y'all think we missing?
What we missing current today?
Yeah, what are we missing? What's the main thing we missing?
Unity. I was getting ready to say that. Unity or togetherness. Like I see the different. I really, I don't know your age or my age.
64.
Okay, I'm 55.
Okay.
So look, ain't but
Right.
you follow something. When I was coming up.
Thanks, brother, for giving me information, man. I'll be emailing if I got something
When I
going
was
on.
coming up,
All right.
I seen a more different togetherness of like my grandmother, she had a family.
Yeah.
It was more of a
Even eating dinner together at the dinner table.
I don't have it now. I don't have it now with my nephews or cousins.
Nah,
It's
yeah.
like,
Everybody do themselves. Everybody doing their own thing.
that's kind of, and I try to put that in them because I came from that
Right.
type of cloth.
Yeah, they.
My grandmother raised me. My mother never raised me. They had to work. My grandmother raised me.
But we're in a me society. We're in a me
Grandma
society.
put a lot of ways in me because I had to go to her while they worked.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Grandma not working. Mom and dad working.
Right.
Where I'm gonna put you at? I don't have babysit money.
Right.
That ain't even. I don't even know where the babysit money.
Yeah, it wasn't no babies in
That
mine.
one, I don't even know where that came from.
Wasn't none of that.
Took our ass straight to
Let me answer my own question. Okay. Let me answer my own question. Babe, I got you. Okay, babe, I'm talking over you a little bit. Yeah. This is what, to answer my own question, what I think we're missing today. Leadership. Straight out. You're not going to have unity if there's nobody to lead to the unity. There's nobody to follow to the unity. So you're never going to unite because there's nobody to unite us, right? And if we was united, then what? People tell me that when I talk, yeah, unity. So if we unite, then what are we going to do once we unite, okay? But I want to show you why, and this is the last point I want to make, I want to show you why we don't have any leadership right now. The main reason we don't have any leadership is during the civil rights movement, they slaughtered all the leaders. I have a list. So as now, don't no brother want to jump up and be out in front of nothing. Why? Because we know for a fact these fools will kill you. Right? We know that, right? So here you go, 1955, beginning of the civil rights movement, right? They killed this brother. 55, I'm gonna give y'all so y'all can see the name. They killed this brother, 55. They get him, right? His name is Reverend George Lee. Let me tell you about George Lee. Mississippi. One of the first black people registered to vote in Humphreys County used his pulpit and his printing press to urge others to vote. White officials offered Lee protection on the condition he ended his voter registration efforts, but Lee refused. They murdered him. All right? They murdered him. Lamar Smith, shot at the courthouse, 1955. Emmett Till, of course, who we do know about Emmett Till, right? They said Emmett looked at the white woman, right? 1955, Mayflower, Texas. John Earl Reese is slaughtered. Here we go. 1957, Willie Edwards Sr. is slaughtered. Pause me. Yep. Got two in 1955. 59, they get my man. These are just some of the main ones. They killed more than this.
I just want to pause one more time.
Come on, you can pause me anytime you want to.
You did 55, now 57 too. I did 57.
I did 57. I'm heading for 59.
Now you're on 59.
50.
So that's two of 55, one in 57.
That's 3.
And then another one.
We're going to get one age 23 and 59. He was shot at the jail and killed. 61, the year I'm born, Herbert Lee was killed by a legislator who claimed self-defense and was never arrested.
Emmett Till was only 14.
Emmett Till was 14. Here we go, Taylorsville. Corporal Duckworth, slaughtered and killed, right? These are, look. And don't get caught up. White dudes got caught up too. They got slaughtered and killed too. If you was a white dude and you was helping with the civil rights movement, they killed you too.
Not you off too.
They knocked you off too.
So that's 3 years later.
Now, all right, so here we go, 1963, William Lewis, got him. Medgar Evers, 1962, I'm only 2 years old. They killed Medgar Evers, slaughtered him out. These are the four sisters I know y'all heard about that got bombed and killed at the church. All right. All of this is terrorist moves to stop us from doing what we're doing. Why? Because we're moving. We're moving. By the time the civil rights hit, we're at a point now, we came through this whole civil rights crap coming off the war, right? The Civil War. It's almost 100 years later, and brothers is right back where they started from, right? And we start pulling up on them again. We start revolting, I ain't here to bump this. We're not sitting on the back of the bus, we're not taking it no more. Now we're ready to boil over, and so the white dudes say, no problem, y'all keep boiling over, we just gonna keep slaughtering people. Here go my man, Lewis Allen, 64, bumped him off. Another one is 63, look, here go 3 and 64 right here. Johnny May Chapel, Reverend Bruce Clunder, Lewis Allen, all killed, one in Cleveland, Ohio, one in Florida, one in Mississippi. They ain't even close to each other, right? So why don't we have leadership? Because in the 50s and 60s, anybody who stood up got slaughtered, period, got slaughtered. This was outright, look at these white, here go a black dude and 2 white dudes. This one's real famous too. James Earl Chaney, Andrew Goodman, and Michael Henry Schwerner. Civil rights workers, all slaughtered. 2 white dudes and a black dude, slaughtered, right there on the spot. 64, Lieutenant Colonel Lemuel Penn is on his way to visit a sick wife, shot and killed by a Klansman in a passing car, right? 65, man, I bet Jimmy Lee Jackson, slaughtered. Reverend James Reed, remember I said if you was a white dude and you was helping out, they slaughtered you too, right? Reverend James Reed was a Unitarian minister from Boston. He went to Selma to help out King, slaughtered. You know what I'm saying? Slaughtered. White girl right here, white young lady right here. Viola Gregg Louise, look at this young white lady. Now this one really gets you. Viola Gregg Louiso, a housewife and mother from Detroit, check what she did. Drove alone to Alabama to help the Selma March after seeing televised reports of the attack at the Edmund Pettus Bridge. She was ferrying marchers between Selma and Montgomery when she was shot and killed by a Klansman in a passing car. You want to help the niggas out? We're going to kill you too. We're going to kill you too, right? O'Neal Moore, blasted with gunfire from a passing car. Moore was killed and Rogers was wounded. He was, look, now this one. O'Neal Moore was one of 2 black deputies hired by white officials in an attempt to appease civil rights. They shoot and kill him. He or she, deputy sheriff, they shoot and kill him. Aniston, William Brewster, shot and killed by white men. Shot and killed. Shot and killed. August 65, Jonathan Myrick Daniels, shot and killed. This is all the 60s. 66, Lemuel Lamont Youngers Jr., student, civil rights activist, fatally shot by white people. Hattiesburg, Mississippi, Vernon Fernandez Dahmer, a wealthy businessman offered to pay, listen to this one. A wealthy businessman offered to pay poll taxes for those who couldn't afford the fee required to vote. He was shot and killed. Rich white dude decided he was going to get in and help the black folks and pay their poll taxes. Shot and killed him too. They didn't care whether he's rich, they didn't care nothing about it. Can't care nothing about it. All right? Clarence Triggs, a bricklayer, got him. 67, Walls Jackson, the treasurer of his local NAACP chapter, was one of many blacks who received threatening Klan notices at his job. After Jackson was promoted to a position, they give him a raise. A bomb was planted in his car, 1967, blew him up. All right, blew him up. You know what I'm saying? Blew him up. It goes on. It goes all the way to King. When you look at the amount of leaders and the amount of people that they slaughtered in the 50s and the 60s, you see why we don't have no leadership. They slaughtered them all. And nowadays, ain't nobody, you can say what you want to about Barack Obama, you can say what you want about none of these dudes. Ain't no brother standing up trying to lead us nowhere. Nowhere. Why? Because we smart enough to know they'll kill you. They'll kill you. I don't blame brothers for not jumping up.
After King, everybody, Jesse and them back down.
No, they had to back down because they weren't trying to hide it.
What about Farrakhan?
They was just, Farrakhan ain't no threat. He's no threat. What are they gonna do to him? There's no need, he ain't doing nothing. Ain't nobody rallying behind Farrakhan doing nothing. If Farrakhan was rallying us up to do something, he'd be gone. He'd be gone. Trust me, he'd be gone. Listen to how Trump talks. Listen to how he talks. He don't talk nice about what he's gonna do to them other countries. I just seen him on the news this morning saying if Iran wasn't with his deal, they was gonna have problems.
He'd be on some other.
They was gonna have, but he's not on no other stuff.
Nah,
he's on the same stuff these boys always been on.
Yeah.
We just kind of, for some reason, we kind of act like, what did you forget? This is why I'm coming back out teaching this again, so I can start reminding brothers of what's going on, because what's going on now is not new. They're going to just directly slaughter 9,000 Mexicans. What? Just directly slaughter these joints? At that point in time, I could have walked up to 5 Mexicans with a gun, shot all 5 of them, and caught no jail time. That mentality is on this planet. And until we recognize and understand that mentality, but also understand that even that mentality has not, I'm gonna say it again, the Tuckers are what? Still here. I don't care what we've been through.
I like that saying, still.
Still here. Tuckers ain't went nowhere. They've been here 400 years. Tuckers ain't went nowhere. All the stuff I'm talking about, all these people getting killed, all this stuff going on. When they was killing everybody, we was building schools. We was educating. We was doing our thing. And so I say to the brothers, and I'm about to close out right here, so I say to everybody,
You coming next week?
don't be.
You enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And that's the biggest problem. One thing Leon and I talked when I first talked to him about doing some stuff we doing. He was talking about when you're telling a story, and what was the obstacles in the story. And the main obstacle in my story is that black folks, they do a lot of complaining, but they don't do too much after that. We do it, they don't like to learn. They don't want to know. They don't want to know. They just want to tell you Trump's an idiot. But real honest, me and my wife were talking about this morning. If you listen to Trump talk, everything he say ain't stupid. It's not. Some of this junk I agree with. You know, you know what? I hate to say it, Trump, but I kind of agree with it. You know what I'm saying? It's not all nonsense he's saying. You know what I'm saying? It's not. But we're out of time. The brother asked, can I come back next week? Are we trying to do it one more week now? Are we trying to do it again? It might as well. We're going to have to get some more advertisement going. Yeah. Oh, no, I can't do next week. We're going to the football game. No, that's Sunday.
That's Sunday.
Football game is Sunday. That's the 19th.
I ain't gonna be here next week though. I got competition.
Yeah, that's fine, but you got Sunday.
And you know what, Chip? I never told you. You know, Tom been on Walts since they was probably what, 10, 11 years old?
Right. Are you still recording or you going to stop?
That's cool.
Oh, okay.
But he played football at high school.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I played with Walt.
Oh, yeah, me and Walt was tight.
That was my dude.
Me and Walt was tight.
Walt was a beast. Walt was a beast in everything he did.
Walt was just a beast.
I swear to God.
Walt was a beast of a person.
One thing he was a beast in everything he done.
Yeah. Even shooting pool. Walt can shoot a good game of pool too.
Everything. I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you.
And I stunk at the pool.
No, for real, like, everything, anything. Whether another side person or a little person, he done it.
Walt could do
I
it.
swear on my mama.
No, let's not do mom now.
I just said, Walt was bad. That was my dude. That was my dude. I swear.
All right, so we'll try to we'll try to get some more information out for next week, and but that's the biggest problem that I have. I tell Leon, one of the biggest problems I had years ago was not getting frustrated when people didn't come to things I was doing. You know what I'm saying? I've had functions where there was no room to sit, and I've had functions where I was the only one in there talking. You know what I'm saying? And I can't keep that. Can't keep
I'm getting ready to go home and read that.
He done took my home.
Back to you. I'm getting ready to go home and read this one, bro. But I appreciate you. You understand what I'm like? Again, I'm Thomas.
I'm gonna run you off a copy.